Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Heidi St. John podcast. You guys are in for a treat today because I'm thrilled to welcome Leslie Nunnery. She's the co-founder of the Teach Them Diligently conference that you guys have heard me talk about all the time here at the show. She's also the co-author of Faith That Sticks. And so if you're raising middle schoolers, first of all, just small pause, little group hug. If you're raising middle schoolers, then you know it's a season of big questions, emotional shifts, and huge opportunities for parents to speak into their lives of their children. Leslie's going to join me today to talk about how we can parent our tweens and early teens with intention and point them toward a faith that lasts. If you've ever wondered how to reach your child's heart in the chaos of adolescence, this episode is for you. Thank you for being here. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Shout out to our sponsor, the Functional Medical Institute. I love those guys. Check them out at homeschoolhealth.com and be sure and use the coupon code Heidi for 20% off your entire purchase. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope you're having a good summer. My goodness. I mean, we're barreling our way through the summer. This is my favorite time of year. The weather's fantastic. I hope you're spending some time with your families and really just leaning in to a season where you can be building memories and relationships with your kids in the years to come. I have been talking for a long time about my women's retreat is coming up October 10th through 12th. So if you are thinking about it, I will be at the Oregon Coast at the Twin Rocks Conference Center. And if you've never been to the Oregon Coast, you're missing out. It is beautiful. This is going to be a great opportunity for you just to come away and lean into what the Lord has for you. The theme for this year's event is Born for This. And we're going to talk about what it means to be born and live missionally, because we know that God's word is true, that he has created you on purpose with a purpose, a plan, and a purpose for your life. Also wanted to let you know that January 31st of 2026, we will be hosting a workshop, an entire day dedicated to helping you figure out how you could start a homeschool resource center in your neck of the woods. And one more thing I wanted to throw out there, and we're already hearing from you and we're taking note of your name. So thank you for writing in. If you are interested in coming to a masterclass weekend on publishing and writing, we are planning that for next spring. We had to postpone it for all the reasons that you guys are already aware. So if you're interested in doing that, just go to HeidiSt.John.com/Mailbox Monday, put your name in there and let us know that you're interested in the masterclass weekend. I'm going to be teaching you everything I know about how to get published, how to find an agent, whether or not you need an agent, how to come up with a book idea and take it all the way to press. I've written now 12 books. It's something I know something about, and I'd like to teach you how to do it if you're interested. So just let us know by going to HeidiSt.John.com/Mailbox Monday. All right. I am really happy today to have my friend Leslie Nunnery in the studio. She's come all the way from South Carolina, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Leslie, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always fun to hang out with you.
It's such a joy. We're going to have dinner tonight, girl.
I know. Cannot wait.
Well, usually, I'm with you out where you guys are doing Teach Them Diligently, and we're like, two ships in the night. And by the time everyone's done speaking for the day, people, we used to be when we were younger, everybody to go out for dinner.
Yeah. There are no words left anymore.
No. And now we're just like, what are you guys going to do tonight? Nothing.
Yes.
We're going to go up to our room and watch the wallpaper peel.
Still.
Be quiet and still. And I think it's just, it's kind of evidences, right, as we move through seasons of our life. And so I'm just really, really happy that you're here. Let's talk about middle schoolers, because, we hear all the time from moms who are coming into the middle school years, or they're in the middle of them, or maybe their kids are little and they're already like,
kind of freaking out.
What's that going to be? Yeah. What's that going to be like? I think it's really important. And we talked a little bit about this with your husband, David, in the green room before we started recording today, that there are moms need to understand, especially, your children change rapidly in the years of middle school. And I think oftentimes, we kind of sweep it under the rug because we're really gearing up for those teen years that everybody tells you are going to be terrible, which they're not.
No, they're awesome.
I've loved having teenagers in our home. But why do you think that the middle school years are so critical for spiritual formation? I mean, critical enough that you, with my friend, our mutual friend, Trisha Goyer, you guys wrote Faith That Sticks, 5 real life ways to disciple your preteen. So you obviously care about this. Why did you think it was so critical to help parents understand this season of their child's life?
Well, for one thing, there's not a lot out there for this season of a child's life. Right. There just really seems to be a drought of that. And we wanted to fill that gap because we do get a lot of questions about it. I think that these preteen years are one of the scariest seasons of parenting because your child goes from this sweet little cuddly
I can't wait to hang around you, Mom. Yes. What's your plan for the day? I'm going to do it with you. I love your sweater. What do you make for
with you all the time.
Yeah, to your sweater's ugly and why do we have to go there tonight?
Yeah. And it's like an alien has eaten your sweet child. And it can really bring a lot of fear.
It's jarring.
And it is. It's totally jarring. And so we wanted to, first of all, look at why. I am big on why. My mind wants to uncover what's going on there. And so as I was researching all the things that were happening in a preteen's life developmentally, I was sitting there going, man, I wish somebody would have told me this. Yeah. It would have helped so much to understand that actually all of the things that we kind of chalk up to hormonal issues, those wide mood swings, the not having an identity, like one day they're dressing in frilly little things and they're so cute, and the next day they're basically goth. And you're like, who are you, child? But all of this is actually developmentally appropriate. Yeah. It's all what is happening. Their brain
Don't freak out.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't freak out.
God designed them. During this time, their brain is changing so rapidly that, I mean, you can almost literally see it. Mm-hmm. Like you can see all of the things that are going on, but they are truly morphing from a little child who thinks very simply to on their way to being an adult that thinks very complex. This is that launching spot. And so that's why this season of their life is so powerful for us to make sure that we stay engaged with them, that we're right there going for their hearts through it, rather than doing what so many would tend to do because it's so weird, and that is kind of recoiling and pulling back and giving them space.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's when you start to see kids retreat to their rooms and their parents let them. Now, I don't know if you did this in your house, but we had a policy in our house growing up, with our kids, like, we're not going to let you hang out in your room.
Right. Yeah.
Your room is not not that you can't go to your room and just chill out.
Sometimes you need some space.
But you don't live in your room. Yeah. And when we call you for dinner, we expect you to come. And if you say, I can't hear you because your door was closed, we're going to ask you to keep your door open. And if you won't keep your door open, in the St. John house, you lost your door.
Yeah.
We actually took doors off of hinges.
There you go.
But we had kids that tended to be a little bit more like, I'm just going to go up and, mope in my room, or I'm going to become this antisocial, whatever. And we would tell the kids, no, like you can be up there for a little bit, but then you need to rejoin your family. Right. I mean, Leslie, would you stay in your room a bunch if you could? Yes, you would. Right.
Absolutely.
But you can't.
Nope.
Because you the mom.
Yep.
Right. Because we live in family and in such, we're in community. But I think parents, often misunderstand this age group. And I think it's kind of frustrating and can be sort of scary. Mm-hmm. What do you think one of the main things is that parents misunderstand when they look to these tween years, these middle years?
Yeah. I think a lot of times we misunderstand what's really going on under the surface. I know.
We take it personal.
Well, we take it personal, or we jump to the absolute worst possible conclusion. Yeah. So I remember very well, my first two kids are boys. And when they entered this season, I was so keenly aware of the dangers out there lurking, in the shadows. And
in the shadows.
I knew what high value targets they were for the enemy, and it threatened to paralyze me with fear. And so I would see a behavior, or they would do or say something that was a little weird to me, and I would jump straight to, they had already been making a whole lot of decisions so I'm like making the worst possible assumptions and then reacting as if those things were true. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's very, very easy because our children are changing an awful lot during this season. And so if we're not staying close to them, if we're not understanding what's going on, if we're not engaging with them to try to see what they're actually thinking, which in my experience was like 9.5 times out of 10, so different than what I was reacting to.
Right.
But
you're
that
reacting to that change. And your child, one minute they're thinking this and the next minute they're thinking that. And I think parents can easily, if your identity is hung up in your kid, you better unhitch that right now, because otherwise they're going to be taking you on the crazy train with them. And you don't need that.
Well, and it's really important that you as a parent are stable during this time, that you're not kind of going with the winds of change with them. You need to be that force in their life that they know is steady.
Well, and they can embrace it, right?
Exactly.
How do you do that though, Leslie? I mean, how do you embrace the season instead of fear it?
Yeah. Well, so one of the ways is I really hope that for parents to better understand what's going on within their children, that will remove that sense of fear and instability, because you'll understand, okay, this is developmental. This is what's happening in their change.
This isn't personal, it's developmental.
Right. This is something that God designed in our children as being this coming of age thing that's really transforming them from this child that truly does see in black and white into this young man or young woman who is going to be so usable because they're able to think critically, and we can teach them to think biblically, and they have all of these new abilities.
New questions.
New questions. They want to know what they believe and why. A little one doesn't ask those same questions most of the time. And so understanding that pulling on things, really testing boundaries, all of these things are actually, that's who they are. That's where they are developmentally. So when you recognize that is normal, that is a good thing, because God doesn't make a mistake. He doesn't program in us bad things, right? So the fact that He is allowing our kids to grow up the way that He is, now as parents, understanding that, we can engage with them out of knowledge. So when they start asking questions, we can get to the reason why. We can give them the answers. We can sit there. Like I remember so many times especially with my boys, I was prepared for hormone changes with my girls because I am one of those. But the way that the hormones affected my boys during this time just broke my heart. Yeah. And so
well, what do you mean? Say that. Like, so when you say the way that the hormones affected your boys, what do you mean?
There was a tremendous amount of insecurity that was ushered in.
Did you see it kind of come out in anger sometimes?
Lots of anger, but also a lot of lying.
A
lot of, like, their head was detached from their bodies. And we joke about it, but it's really
ain't funny
scary.
When you're going through it. Yeah.
And so there were a number of times when I remember I would catch my son in a lie on something silly. Why do you have my coffee mug? And he's sitting there holding it. He's like, I don't have your coffee mug. I'm like, dude, it's in your hand.
One of my boys told me, I went in and I was like, why did you write? Why are you taking the Sharpie and writing on your bunk bed? I didn't write on my bunk bed. I'm like, yes, you did. You signed your name. You did that.
Right. And then they just break down. I don't know why I'm so bad. And it would break my heart because they were like a big pendulum swing from anger to tears. And I realized as I sat there and would just cuddle up and hold my, now bigger than me boys, that I was privileged to be there, to be the one shouldering their struggles, to be there to tell them truth about themselves rather than sending them off and let someone else whisper lies in their head when they are so vulnerable to lies.
Yeah. And one of the things that you guys picked on in the book, which I thought was really important, was you said this is the time when you really start to shift from control, which is what we have so much of when our kids are little, because we really are in control.
Right.
I mean, we're determining doctor's appointments and what they're going to eat for dinner and what time they get up and what time they go to bed and what they're going to wear. And this is the beginning of shifting from control to connection.
Right.
And a lot of times these kids, these middle schoolers, I mean, I don't know if yours did this, but mine did. They really push the boundaries. Yeah. So when they're pushing the boundaries, how then can we stay engaged in relationship instead of becoming reactionary? Because that's hard for me. I will say, like, I don't I don't like that. I still don't like it. I mean, I only have one kid at home, and she's 14 and a half now. And generally, she's just a super great kid. But she's a teenager.
Right.
She's a 14-year-old. And we had all kinds of issues the other day because she'd picked a dress out at a thrift store or something. She put it on, and I was like, oh, hey, yeah. We can't wear that. And she was like, Mom, why? And there's just the constant. And I'm like, okay, Heidi, I've been through this 6 other times. This is not my first rodeo. And I could just feel my blood pressure kind of rising. And I wanted to just kind of give her the what for. And I asked the Lord, I was like, okay, nope. I make my case. And then I just like, here's what we're doing. And then I had to just walk away.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's going to pull me in and we're going to be arguing about it for 15 minutes. Yeah. How do we just stay in this relationship with them and not just constantly react to what feels like that tug and that pull?
Yeah. Well, one of the strategies that's really helpful is removing yourself from the situation.
Walk away.
Yeah. So many times, whether it was because I had a child who was being irrational and emotional or was being so quiet that I couldn't pull anything out because they were like locked down in their head. Mm-hmm. Yes. Both of those extremes are really difficult. So needing to push laundry forward, or I really need a cup of coffee or something, just to leave the room for a few minutes and come back. A lot of times that will let you settle down a little bit, but it also will give your child the opportunity to actually get control of themselves as well.
Without feeling like you're watching them.
Right. Without they're under the gun all the time. And so I think that's a really big strategy to use. The other thing to understand is if you react to them in this highly pitched, emotional, in-kind type of a reaction, then what's going to happen in them, and actually in both of you, this emotional side of your brain is going to be so triggered that nothing good's going to come out of it. You're just at that point reacting emotionally.
You're right. We've all done it.
Oh yeah,
we've all done it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have allowed my kids to here's your ticket to ride the drama train.
Yeah.
And I just get on the train, and then my husband's like, "Why did you get on the drama train?" I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, and it wears you out.
It does. And you know that you're just spinning your wheels. And quite frankly, you do it with your spouse too.
Yep.
I mean,
it's so true.
You've got to get control of those emotional moments. And that's, I think you said at the beginning, you were talking about how do you be that steady influence. This is one of those ways, is you just purpose in your heart that you're not going to get drawn in on those no-win, emotionally high-pitched situations.
So is that when you kind of go, okay, this is a hill that I want to die in? And I got to tell you, I mean, like for me, the dress thing with my daughter, that was a hill.
Right.
I'm like, we're not wearing that. Right. And there was some, we had some words, and she, why don't you let me pick what I want to wear, and blah, 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 and all the things. And I had to just say, I really love you. You're such a beautiful girl. Either wear a camisole or change your dress. Yeah. And then that was it. Move on to the next thing. And you know what? It really did diffuse the situation. Oh, yeah. And, 25 minutes later, lo and behold, she had made a better choice.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we just need to, this isn't about me and her being mad at me. This is about her wrestling through what the boundaries are, pushing the boundaries. And we really want to move beyond behavior management.
Absolutely.
To heart. Yeah. To heart discipleship, which is what you guys are always talking about.
Well, and so the other side of the example that you just gave, where there was a clear line that was being crossed, there was a modesty issue there. There was a proper issue that was being crossed. But you're also going to find a lot of time with your preteen that let's stick with dress, they make really dumb choices with what they put together. Dress, hair, you name it. And on a lot of those, you just let them go out like that.
All right.
And now you laugh at it when they're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and you look at pictures because it was not a good choice. It was just not. But there was nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And that's where you've got to understand.
This is a haircut thing.
Yeah.
You know how many dads I have met that have died on the haircut hill? Don't die on the haircut hill. It just, if your kid wants to, if your kid wants to have the funky haircut, whatever, especially with the boys, I do think in the family dynamic, so what kind of one of the things we told our kids, as they were growing up is, there's things I will pay for and things I won't pay for. And I'm going to pay for a haircut, but I'm not going to pay for you to color your hair. Like when you're 18 and you want to do that, then go for it.
Yeah.
But that's not in my budget. And I think sometimes, if you know ahead of time, what's important in our family, what are the hills we're going to die on. Jay told me that when he was a teenager, he really wanted to get one of his ear pierced, and his grandfather just lost his mind. He was like, I told my granddad, I'm going to get my ear. And he said he could tell that it so upset his granddad that Jay made the choice at like 16 or whatever, just not to do it because it wasn't worth it to wasn't worth it to upset his granddad.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that his grandfather had such an opinion about it, and Jay still remembers it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
boy, we need the wisdom of Solomon to navigate these things.
What are those hills that are worth dying on, and which are ones that you can just laugh about later?
Laugh about it later. What are some signs that we might be parenting more out of fear than
Oh,
faith?
my goodness. Oh, there are so many. We're far more erratic and reactionary when we are parenting out of fear rather than faith.
It's true.
Because we're just keyed up all the time. And I think Satan loves to have us there, because the more that we are erratic and reactionary, the farther away from our preteen we're getting.
Yeah.
There is a wedge there. And, we're told in Scripture not to provoke our children to wrath. And yet...
that's Ephesians 6:4.
Yeah. And yet, when we are constantly reactionary to them, we are dancing in that area of provoking them to wrath and really truly doing things that are going to lose their hearts if we're not careful.
You have talked a lot about, in this book, you talk about something you call sticky faith.
Yeah.
What does it mean to build that sticky faith that sticks, and how do you do it with your middle schooler?
Oh, well, like we talked about before, a middle schooler is starting to get the ability to think more complex thoughts. Therefore, as a parent, it's really fun because you get to have a lot more complex conversations with them. So the conversations that you're having with your kids are one of the huge building blocks for giving them a faith that sticks. You need to expect really hard questions and not run from them.
So like what? What would be a really hard question? So when your kid comes to you and they're asking you about maybe a hot political issue, or maybe they're asking you, well, why is transgenderism?
Right.
Why do you think it's wrong?
Right.
We should be ready to have those conversations.
Absolutely. And even when they come and all indications would be that they're starting to question the things that they had been taught all their life at
up
church.
until 5 minutes ago, they were like, absolutely just took it at face value.
Exactly.
Yep.
So often, as parents, I think our first reaction on any of those hard things is to recoil and run, or to just lambaste them for even asking.
Okay, I've done those things.
Yeah, I think we all have.
I've done it. I mean, for those of you who are like, Heidi St. John did that. Yeah, I've done it. And I think sometimes I do it for my own insecurity, because I'm thinking, what's happening here?
That's that fear.
Why are you questioning what we've all, instead of being just calmly say, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think one of the best strategies is asking questions back to our kids.
100%. We, David and I talk all the time, questions prick the conscience, but accusations harden the will. So when you come right back at them, you're not going to be able to get to the root of why they're asking that question, or what has triggered it, or, where's the real struggle there? Whereas if you engage with them, that's really interesting. What makes you ask that? What have you read? Whatever is appropriate for that situation. You give them the time to kind of work it out. And I think that a lot of times you'll be surprised at how, as they start working it out, sometimes the question wasn't even real connected to what they were really asking. Like it's way scarier when they first put it out than where they really are. But also you get to better understand the way they think, what's in their heart, the things that are influencing them that you may be missing. These are prime discipleship moments when you start asking questions and hearing what's going on inside your child's life.
So if we want to get to the point where our kids can ask us questions, and instead of being reactive, we focus on the relationship, we want to get to the point where our kids have a faith that's going to stick. It's going to hang with them their whole life. So what are some habits? To me, these need to be almost automatic.
Yeah.
So instead of my response, my automatic response being to recoil or to disengage from the conversation or to what you said, lambaste them or whatever, I want to get into the habit of helping my kids make their faith a part of their everyday life.
Right.
So what are some habits that you would say, why don't you start here or think about this?
Yeah. Well,
like ahead of time.
Yeah, there are the spiritual habits, the prayer, the Bible reading, the things that we want to instill in them. One of the things that I started doing when my kids were really, really little, and this is one of those little ideas that God gives you that you have no idea what he's going to do with it.
Yeah.
I started, after I would have my devotions in the morning and we'd be all sitting at the table, I would tell my kids what I learned. And I mean, it would be age appropriate, but as they grew, that conversation grew. They started wanting to get in the Bible or their coloring sheets or whatever was appropriate at the time. Right. And they'd start telling me what they learned. And by the time I had teenagers, we were having these long, drawn out conversations about things that we were learning or seeing or whatever. So just the small little steps of obedience pay off really big as your children are growing. But the other thing beyond the prayer, the praying with them, the reading the Bible with them, all of those things, which we talk about a lot in the book, but all of those things are actually built on the relationship that's really truly built sitting in the floor playing Legos or taking rides or, playing with whatever they want to do, being engaged in what's important to them, because that is positioning you not only as mom, but as someone that they really, really enjoy hanging out with as they get older, because you have shared interests. They know that they're so important to you that you care to learn about the things that are important to them. And those decisions that you make to just engage in their life pay off tremendously on the spiritual side when you're having really difficult conversations, or it gives them much more comfort knowing that they can come to you because you have this deep relationship. So never downplay that time that you're spending, even with your littles, in the floor, doing stuff that doesn't really excite you a whole lot, but it means the world to your kids.
It's foundational. Getting down on the floor and playing with them, all those things. There are lots of us that, and I can think of, this in my own life, things I've said to my kids that I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't said that.
Yeah.
Either I said it in anger or I said it because of fear, like what you were saying a while ago, or I just said it because I was tired.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're just tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to be like, I don't know about you, but if I know I'm getting tired, like, I'll be like, I'm going to go to my room. Like a couple of weeks ago, I just had a really long day. I don't know what I was doing, but, probably podcasting, probably doing all the things I'm doing right now. But I came home and I just didn't have it in me.
Yeah.
I didn't have every bit of my visiting, all my words, they were gone. And it was just better for me to go upstairs and just sit in my room.
Be quiet.
And be quiet. And that was a better, and actually I was honest with my family. So before I got grumpy at anybody, I just said, hey guys, I'm like super done. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's not you, it's me.
Yep.
I'm going to go sit in my room. And everyone's like, oh, that's fine. I think sometimes you just sort of, it's like a preemptive strike. But we've all had days that we were like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Or,
yes.
Yeah. Fails with our kids, moments when we just feel like, oh, brother, what encouragement, Leslie, do you offer to the moms who are sitting here and she just had a day like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just blew it. And she said that she opened her mouth and the thing that she said she would never say came out.
Right. And you probably saw the hurt in your child's eyes, which just broke you into.
Yeah. And then you realized, oh, hey.
That's me.
The toothpaste is out of the tube now.
Yeah. I just did that. Yeah. That's really where we go in humility and confess that to our children. We ask for forgiveness. So we teach our kids to ask for forgiveness and to forgive others. This is where we get to model that. We go to them. I was so wrong that
and don't put a but. I wouldn't have done that, but
no. There is no excuse for the way that I reacted.
Yep.
And it's important to note that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm saying that you were right.
Yep.
I'm saying, as your mom, as a Christian, as a human being, I should never have said or responded in the way that I did. Will you forgive me? And that builds a bridge to actually discussing probably what was at root, what you reacted to in a way that you would never have had the opportunity to before. Because our God is so good that he uses even our biggest mistakes for his glory if we'll let him.
Yeah, it's so important, and moms need to hear it. Bad days don't make bad moms.
No.
Bad decisions don't make bad moms. Although I will say, what we don't want to do, or as my friend Bill or my friend Steve would say to me, what you ain't gonna do is, what you ain't gonna do is say I'm sorry and then do the same thing again.
Right.
And say I'm sorry and do the same thing again. Because pretty soon your I'm sorry doesn't mean anything. And so if you're in the habit of apologizing to your child and and you discover, oh, I'm doing this over and over and over and over again, you're the problem.
Yeah.
So it's you. You're the problem. It's you. And we can't continue to just do the same thing. And that's where you really need to go to the Lord and say, Lord, help me do this. Because, and this is important, I think I maybe was teaching on this at Teach Them Diligently actually this year, because I wrote several new workshops for you guys. And something happened with me and my dad and some other things that happened. My dad's, passed away a couple of years ago. But I realized I saw myself say something to one of my kids, or I heard myself say something, and I realized, oh, shoot, like I'm writing a story on the lives of my children. And one of these days, they're going to tell it.
Right.
And it will be their story to tell. It will be their story to tell. And I think that is a really important thing for moms and dads to remember. Like in our homeschooling, with our middle schoolers, we're writing a story on their lives.
Yeah.
And one of these days, they're going to tell it.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's either going to be a story of forgiveness and a story of grace, or it's going to be a story of hurt and missed opportunities. And we have a chance to write a better story. Shout out to our sponsor, the Functional Medical Institute. I love those guys. Check them out at homeschoolhealth.com and be sure and use the coupon code Heidi for 20% off your entire purchase.
It really comes along as we are growing too. As we talk so much about discipleship. Our whole ministry is built on discipleship within families, and you cannot pass on to someone things that you're not growing in yourself.
That's right.
And so as a parent, it is critical that you be growing closer to the Lord yourself, because yes, you're still going to stumble, but you're going to have the answers to help you get back on your feet and to change the trajectory of things. And then just seizing those moments when you're given them, not recoiling from those opportunities. And when you do feel like you are in a season where you're more brittle, or you're creating a story that you don't want to live in, and you certainly don't want your kids to tell, right? You don't want this to be the story of your family. That's when you hit your knees. You evaluate, okay, if my goal is to really be investing in my kids' hearts and discipling them and parenting them well, what is standing in the way of this? And it may involve making some really difficult decisions about some of the things that you're doing or not doing in order to right that ship. But it is so important. And this season of life, when you have preteens, is a really pivotal time in your kids' lives to really get that on track.
Yeah, it really is. And it's challenging, and the Lord wants to meet you in it. Oftentimes people will say to me, and I know you hear this too, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired. I don't want to hang in there with my kid anymore. And so the answer then is to put them back in school, right, or to stop the thing you're doing. And I think what I'm hearing you say is, hey, let's step back and evaluate. Maybe we've invited stress into our lives that we don't need.
Yeah.
Maybe we're overcommitted. You and I talked about that in another episode. Sometimes we're just overcommitted. We've committed ourselves to too many sports activities, too many, your kid's in every activity under the sun. And then when these things come up and your child is disrespectful to you, or their hormones are pushing them, all different directions, you don't have the margin.
Right.
Because you haven't built yourself any margin. You don't have the margin to step back and reevaluate anymore. And that's serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and another thing that parents tend to do is they kind of lose their nerve at this point. It's like
That's
you
true.
see it,
That's
you
so
see it in
true.
parenting, you see it, we talk a lot about homeschooling, you see it in all these areas where all of a sudden, although you have been parenting and discipling your child up to now, it's like, oh, I have to, I need the youth pastor, I need the church, I need whatever to do this for me now.
Yes.
And to not let go of that privileged position that God has given you is really important during this time, because you have these amazing moments to engage in conversation, to build deeper relationships, to point your kids more towards Jesus in all the ways, to get to know your kids' friends and be involved in
that's
those
important.
relationships. Yeah. You have, as your child is growing and developing in all of these different ways, you have this whole new world of opportunity opening up to you. And it's just my heart and my prayer for families listening in that they will seize those opportunities rather than just wrapping them up in a bow and handing them to somebody else, which so often happens.
I love that you said to seize the opportunity, because something that's just been, I don't know why, just on my heart so much in the last year is this idea that I think so often we fall victim to this, to the season that we're in, believing that we just have all this control. And we really, when your kids get older and you realize, oh, shoot,
I've got nothing.
I got nothing. Like, I thought I had control. No, what you had was an opportunity. And you might have been able to control kind of when your kid was coming and when they were going and all those things, but you really didn't have control.
Right.
And you don't have control over the outcome. What you do have control over is making the most of the opportunity that the Lord's given you.
Right.
And man, the middle school years, such a fun time to do this.
So
Take your
fun.
kids out for ice cream. We're like hung up on the ice cream thing
That's
lately.
right.
What was the ice cream you had? You had ice cream at Salt and Straw.
I did.
Okay,
It was
so you went to Salt and Straw, which is like a Portland, Oregon,
was
Vancouver,
delicious.
Washington, like icon. I don't know what. I don't know. It's a. What
It
kind
was
of ice cream did you have?
I had strawberry balsamic with black pepper, and it was
Ooh, come on.
fabulous. It was delicious. I loved
come on.
every bite of it.
Well, and it's making me want to take my daughter and go down and get some strawberry balsamic with black pepper.
It was so cool.
Yeah,
And there were people, like the line was crazy long, which also is fun because, 30 million Elvis fans can't be wrong, right? You gotta, let's get on the bandwagon
It's got to
here.
be pretty good. And I mean, I just think, when I heard that, I was like, my first thought was, I should take Sailor down there.
Super fun.
And just listen to the voice of the Lord when he says, spend time with your daughter, spend time
Absolutely.
with your son. Because we're not going to get a do-over.
Yeah.
Right? Our kids are not boomerangs. They're not supposed to come back. Although they will.
Yeah.
They will come back. But you never get a chance to launch them again.
Right. No.
You got one chance.
And one of the things that happened actually while I was writing this book, I do birthday dates with all of my kids. And so for everyone's birthday, with the girls, we get a hotel, we make a big deal out of it. The guys, we just spend a day traveling. We've been all over the place for these birthday dates. And now that they're married and having kids, we still do birthday dates. But last summer, while I was finishing this book, I took my married daughter, my third child, my older daughter. We actually went to a spa. It was her 21st birthday. It was very amazing. We had a great time. But we were sitting in a hot tub together, just chatting. And she had a bunch of friends over the night before, she and her husband had. And she was telling them that she was going out with me the next day. And her friends were just dumbfounded that she had the type of relationship with her mom where she still wanted to go out and do stuff. And she was telling me, like, I can't believe that they feel that way. That's so weird. And I'm sitting there thinking, thank you, God, for your grace and your goodness to take those little steps of obedience, those little bitty investments that I made all along the way that meant, like, it didn't seem like they meant anything to build relationships where now I get to spend this precious time with my daughter who's now a mom and doing all of these incredible things because she wants to hang out with me. That is a blessing, but it's also those friends that were with her were jealous. They wanted that type of a relationship.
With their mom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so by taking the time to really engage with our kids at this just pivotal age, we are building a foundation for our relationships that we'll have with them that will be amazing and that will truly set them and their spouse apart from a lot of the other people that they're spending time with. And that's a pretty incredible thing.
It's incredible, and it's going to bless you for the rest of your life. And so, if you're homeschooling your kids, listen, long after you've closed the last page of that math book, long after you're done teaching, pronouns and please for the love, teach the pronouns. It turns out they're important. By the grace of God, you're still going to have relationships with your kids. They're still going to be calling you for crock-pot recipes, still wanting to talk to you about how they've rearranged their living room or found a rash on the baby or whatever it is. And you're building those relationships with them right now. Leslie, what do you hope that parents take away from Faith That Sticks?
Oh, a lot of hope. I hope that as you read Faith That Sticks, that you gain a better understanding of your child and the season that they're in. You have a lot of hope for what God is doing in their lives right now, and that you have the excitement that you get to be a part of it.
Yes.
And that you take away a strategy, because we really do give you very practical strategies for how to maximize those moments right where you are with your kiddos.
It's so good. It's so good. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not grow weary in doing good. For in due season we will reap if we don't give up. And so if you're struggling with your kid today, your middle schooler, your high schooler, or even a little one, don't give up, because a harvest of joy is coming. And you're writing a story on your child's life. And by the grace of God, it's going to be a story of grace and mercy and forgiveness. So good. You and your husband, David, obviously the founders of the Teach Them Diligently convention, the conference that I love speaking at. I love it so much. I keep going back over and over and over. And you guys have, if people go to teachthemdiligently.net/Heidi,
yes,
you've put some resources there for listeners of this particular podcast, which I think are going to be encouraging. If they go there, what are they going to find?
Well, they are going to find a workshop that I gave on 7 essential attributes for homeschool success. There are 7 things that, as I've been doing this through the years, talking to thousands of homeschool moms, there are 7 attributes that if you see these, you're on really good track to get where you want to go. So that workshop with the PowerPoint, as well as a discussion guide, so that you can kind of digest what you have just heard, is in there. There's also a workshop on Faith That Sticks that Tricia Goyer and I have given, just to help you go deeper in the 5 very practical ideas that we talk about in there. And then finally, we've got a special kind of get them ready for the women's conference that you are having. Heidi did a workshop in Branson, Missouri this year that everyone was talking about. It's called Born for This. And so we wanted to also share with your audience that audio workshop so that they could just hear your heart a little bit more and get encouraged by how they can face those giants in their own life.
Well, everybody has them.
Absolutely.
Everybody has them. Amy Grant wrote a song a long time ago, and in the song she says, the hard times come and they come till you're done. And the truth is, we're either going into a hard season or we're coming out of one. And that's the ebb and the flow of life. A friend of mine told me a long time ago that every good story has a heartbeat. Yeah. Right? It's the ups and the downs, and it's allowing the Lord to meet you when the beat's on the down. It's the downbeat, and the knowing that he never leaves you, he never forsakes you. And parents need to hear that now. There's a lot of noise in the culture right now, and God is saying, be faithful. Be faithful, and faithful. He who is faithful in little things will be trusted with many things. With many good things. I think God has good things for you. Faith That Sticks: 5 real life ways to disciple your preteen. This is going to be a fantastic read. I hope people will check it out. Where can they pick this book up?
You can find it on our website at teachthemdiligently.net. There's a link to it on our homepage. You can also find it anywhere else that books are found, Amazon, etc. You can always get it there.
Yeah, nobody knows how to do anything away from Amazon anymore. It's just really, it's kind of ridiculous.
But it's there.
Although it's helpful for you guys, right? If they go to teachthemdiligently.net
really
and they buy the book, that's actually helpful for you.
Yeah, it's very helpful if you get it from teachthemdiligently.net. And there will be a link on that /Heidi page to a special offer for your readers.
Well, I'm looking at it right now, so I really, really love this. And so you guys check it out, 7 essential attributes for homeschool success at teachthemdiligently.net /Heidi. Leslie Nunnery, you're such a treasure. I'm so thankful for you. Thank you for coming all the way out here from the great state of South Carolina to spend a little time with me. I appreciate it.
It's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, you guys, I'm glad you've been here today. Listen, if you haven't picked up a copy of Faith that sticks. I highly recommend it. It's full of grace, truth, lots of practical help. Let's keep pressing in to this generation and remember that as you are shaping the hearts and minds of your children, God wants to give you the grace that you need, the mercy that you need, the wisdom that you need to know when to be quiet and when to speak up, when to walk away from the situation, and when to just give your preteen a big old bear hug and lift him up off the ground. God's going to give you all that stuff. God is with you in this. You are not parenting alone. And I hope that encourages you guys today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it. Don't forget to head on over to iTunes and give this podcast 5 stars and leave a review. We read every single one of them. If you got a question for me, you know how to do it. Head on over to HeidiSt.John.com/Mailbox Monday. When I get back in the studio, we are going to be compiling all those questions, and we're going to be doing a series of podcasts that are just geared around answering listener questions. We love to hear from you. Again, that's HeidiSt.John.com/Mailbox Monday. We love you guys. I hope you've been as encouraged by Leslie as I have been. Love your people well today, and I'll see you right back here again at the intersection of faith and culture.